things in my YouTube studio that just make sense. Having an optimized space like this gets you 50% there. The idea is that you have a spot to focus and you don't lose too much time setting up all the different shots. It's kind of like a plug and play thing for filmmaking. And after 2 years in this studio, it's time to show you what solutions I came up with that make my life a little bit easier. But first, and this is important, grab a measure and make a plan of your room. So let's start off with a super quick tour of all the features here in the studio that are important to me. We have a main editing desk. Also make sure that we have enough storage space, a seamless backdrop, a do-it-all table setup, and to finish off an accent wall. The two things were important to me. It needs to be both functional, but also look good, because to me, this space is like a secondary character in my videos. So I based all of the interior on an industrial design board I made on Pinterest. That means working with a lot of black, white, concrete, metal, and some darker tinted woods. You'd be amazed how much sticking to one style does to the look of your space. But more about that later, thanks to the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. After I had a rough idea, I started out with the floor plan and drew out a few setups. You can see what works and what doesn't work for your room. And for my place, I put the editing desk in the darkest corner of the room. Here I have the least amount of reflections. I can really focus on my editing and color correction. I also don't like wasted space, and having the storage lockers, which are from IKEA of course, behind my seamless seemed like the perfect combo. I store all of my content creation gear here and everything has its own spot. So when I'm trying things out, I don't have to search for a magic arm for half an hour. Been there, done that. Now, since we're renting this place, we cannot drill into the walls. And some of you might be in the same situation, so this is what I opted for. It's a Manfrotto auto pole. So I have two of these, which now mounts the whole seamless setup straight to the ceiling. And also what I found out before filming this video is that these auto poles have a really nice secondary use that I didn't think of before. I'm gonna show you in a bit. So this do-it-all table, some of you might recognize it from my old bedroom studio, and it's a custom piece my dad made for me, but it's a game changer in this studio. Adding this contraption gives me the freedom to have a 5-second overhead rig, an online meeting setup, a podcast setup, and a boom arm for my mic, all within an arm's range. Having all of this together not only saves me so much space, but it also saves me so much time setting up my shots. After a lot of going back and forth, I have to admit, I just love that we painted this wall black, because it just adds so much more character to the studio. I can use it as a backdrop for product shots, the podcast, or any other set I can come up with. Now, I know designing your space is one of the hardest parts of the whole process of building a YouTube studio, especially if you want it to look nice. And it can be daunting to know how it will be in the end. I took a look at a class on interior design on Skillshare, the sponsor of this video, and I figured out I needed a focal point in this room, being that the do-it-all table. I also took some small tips like adding plants and personal items to make the space have more character. So you see, whether it's filmmaking, photography, building a business, or interior design, you should know this by now, but if you want to learn something new, you have access to thousands of classes on the platform of Skillshare. To be honest, I paid for the last 2 years with my own money, so if that's not an honest recommendation, I don't know what else I can tell you here. By the way, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description down below, they will get access to a free month of Skillshare on me. So you have no excuse anymore to not get creative. So we did the tour, now you've seen the whole setup, but what makes this so much more productive than any other studio I've had before? Well, it's in the details. And the only way that you learn that is by making a shitload of videos and just always getting stuck on some minor thing over and over again. You never have enough power. So I added a lot of power strips wherever I am. I will always have enough juice for lighting and other gear that I need to charge. And do yourself a favor, get wheels for everything that you can get. Trust me. This Aperture 120D, it follows me around everywhere. And you know, the table is kind of huge, so I would have to rely on others to move it around constantly if it weren't for these wheels. So you remember those auto poles? These are now one of my favorite new mounting angles. All you need is a spigot, a super clamp, and a ball head. And there it is, mounting like a freaking Casey Neistat. Now, having a tidy space and everything ready is great, but you won't get very far if your head is all cluttered. So in this video, I'm showing you how to get all those thoughts out of your head and actually put them into a project you can start and finish. And that's the key part. So I think I'm gonna see you there in a few seconds.